Board meeting is called to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the first item on the agenda this evening is entitled Appeal 3161. The applicant Austin and Sarah Avery, property located at 102 Morningside Circle, request an extension of time for obtaining a permit under Section 280-144 of the Code until May 1st, 2025. And I read this over and I looked at some older documents, and I thought to myself that the first thing we have to decide, since this is an expired application, and is the question of whether or not this board, under the zoning rules here in Radnor Township or even the Municipalities Planning Code, has any authority to rule or extend a motion by motion and a grant of a permit, or I'm sorry, of zoning relief that has expired. And I invite the board and our council to, and I'll direct my first question to our council. Is there anything in the zoning hearing records of Radnor Township that authorizes extending an expired permit?
No, in fact, unfortunately, it's just the opposite. The Radnor Code does have a deadline for pulling a permit and or a use permit. Every one of your orders that are issued say right on them, they repeat that statute. So it's actually no action by the board that decisions expire. It's township ordinance. And it specifically says that if it's not pulled, and that deadline has been extended. It used to be a 6-month deadline for years. Just this past August, the township decided to change that ordinance, extend it to a year. Unfortunately, even under that extended period, the particular application you're looking at now would still be outside of that by roughly 6 months. So no, Mr. Chairman, there's nothing, no other ordinance in the township code authorizes an extension. And as I stated, in fact, it's just the opposite. There is an ordinance that specifically vacates a decision once it's expired after 12 months, if there's no action taken on it, essentially. And there's nothing in the MPC that speaks to it either way. It's up to the township to pass that type of ordinance, and that's what the Radnor Township has decided to implement as a deadline.
And one of the notice provisions, if I'm not mistaken, one of the notice provisions of the ordinance is to give current notice to neighbors of a proposed application for zoning relief. Is that right?
Of course, every application for zoning relief has to meet the notice requirements.
Okay. So I invite the board to make any statements or comments that you may have regarding where we are with this, as to whether or not we even have the authority under the ordinance, the township ordinances, that to deal with this so-called application, which is actually not an application. It's simply an extension of an actually now expired grant from some time ago of a zoning ordinance relief.
It doesn't sound like we have discretion. I'm just going by council's remarks.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's much to
That's the
discuss.
part that hit me when I looked at this. I don't know that, I mean, we can grant relief for a zoning application, but here this is simply expired per the ordinance of the township. And I don't think we have the authority or the ability under the zoning code or the township ordinances simply to ignore the township ordinance. I don't know if we have to call for a vote on this, or just there's a transcript in the record here that
I would recommend that you do put it to a vote. If you're denying the request, I think it's best that it be on the record that you're taking a vote. Obviously, make a motion in the affirmative It should be seconded, and then if everyone is, depending on how everyone feels about it, there'll be additional discussion. Open it up, obviously allowing the applicant to be heard, at least on the board's decision once a motion is made, public comment, and then a vote.
Okay. So could I have a motion? And we usually make these sorts of motions regardless of the outcome. It's always in the affirmative. So would someone like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll do it. I'll make a motion to approve the request to extend the deadline within which to obtain a building permit.
Any second? Second. Any comment? I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, please come forward and be sworn. First, and identify yourself.
I'm Michael Pillion. P as in Paul, I-L-L-I-O-N. I do. I'm also a Radnor resident, and I'm the stepfather of Sarah and father-in-law of Austin. So what happened here was immediately, well, contemporaneously with the issuance of the variance, Austin's job was eliminated. It took him some time to find a new one. In addition, for a 2-year period, they've been going through IVF, a very expensive and long journey. Luckily, it's worked, and they're having a baby in August. The factual findings that were made when the board made its decision, 1 through 10, all are the same. They're all correct. Plans haven't changed. Neighbors are still in favor. Yeah, I get the point on the posting. But everything else is the same plans. So we ask, notwithstanding that there's no apparent authority or maybe no express authority, that the board does exercise its discretion and give the extension.
We don't have the discretion to do something that's not authorized by township ordinance. We're not a legislative body. We cannot rewrite the ordinances. We couldn't even find them unconstitutional. You'd have to go to another court for that. And while this is a quasi-judicial proceeding because you're sworn in and you're obligated to tell the truth, and for other reasons, other procedural reasons, for example, we just can't ignore the rules, and that's what happened here. And I'm sorry that maybe things are the same.
They
but
are.
The township has the right to have their ordinances enforced, and if we just start ignoring the ordinance in this particular instance, then we'll have to do it perhaps the next time it comes up, or the next time. And it's not the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last, I'm sure. So yes, they will have to reapply. It was granted the last time. I'm assuming that the neighbors will get their notice and they will show up perhaps. I don't know. But one thing I do know is that we really don't have the authority to do it. And we would be ignoring the rules if we did it. And that's just not what we're here for.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would just frame it that we don't have equitable authority. We don't have any equity that we can give to an applicant. It's just a straight legal question, which is why our hands are tied in this particular circumstance.
All right, well, we appreciate it, and we'll be back.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I would call for a vote on the motion.
So I am not in favor, given that we do not have the authority, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm also
I'm voting negative. Yes, sir.
I'm also a nay.
Yeah, I am also a nay.
So no.
All right, so it looks like it's unanimous, if I'm not mistaken, that we do not have the authority to take action on this, and that the applicant will have to, at their own discretion and at their own time, reapply. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is appeal number 3203. The applicant First State Building and Design, property located at 242 Bailey Road, zoned R5 residential. The applicant seeks relief from Section 280-35A, 3 in parentheses, of the code to encroach into the 25-foot front yard setback. Is the applicant here? Did I see a hand back there?
Mr. Chair, can we
Yeah.
clarify the application? This is 3203.
I might have misread it because I have 3203.
Right, but what you just read deals with a relief from section 280-3508.
A dash
3.
and 3 in
But
parentheses.
in the packet, it shows
Oh.
it's a request for relief from 280-35A4B regarding the side yard setback. Has there been a change?
Do you want me to get sworn in? I was going to
Yeah,
start by addressing that.
that's fine, yep.
Absolutely. I do. Benjamin Hasday, Hasday.
Use the, can you use the hand microphone? Where is it? Because we're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
Is it up here somewhere?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, there's a button on the side that turn it on.
And sir, you come over here, you can even have a seat, right here, and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name
Nicholas Doracki,
and spell?
Nicholas, Nicholas, Doracki, D as in David, Woreki.
So I think just to put a finer point on the request, it's a dimension. Any better?
Yes, that's better.
So yeah, I just want to start by putting a finer point on the request for relief that we have here. We are seeking a dimensional variance. The confusion about front or side yard comes from this being a corner lot. Nonetheless, I think the distance from the lot line is what we would like to be the focus of our appeal here. So I'm not sure if you guys have. Do you have
Excuse me one second. Kevin, do we know if this was published correctly?
It was advertised as it's in your agenda as a front yard variance, because as a corner lot, as was noted, it is considered a front yard. I think the applicants, because it's the side of the house, initially put it in. We review every application to make sure that the relief being requested is what was intended. So they thought it was a side yard. We got that corrected, which is why we advertised it as a front yard setback.
And then I just wanted to make sure that you guys had, I have a zoomed-in copy of the plot plan so you can get a clear look if you guys did need that, if any members of the board would like this copy.
Just give us a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so what I just read off said relief from section 280-5, capital A and small, and the number 3 in parens. And what I see on the actual application that was presented to the township, it is seek board relief from section 280-35 in parens capital A, in parens capital number 4, and small b. So, and that, and it's also asking for relief via special exception under section 280-101A, capital A, and the number 1, such that the proposed would extend no further into the edge of the existing cantilever on the existing non-conforming structure, a wood deck in the side yard. So, Kevin, I think that has been correctly stated now into the record?
The variance request for the front yard encroachment is correct as in the agenda and as put in the legal notice. The application was again, not correct. So we corrected that upon our review and discussions with the applicant. Similarly, the request for a special exception was not applicable, so we did not advertise that.
Okay. Okay. All right, so please go ahead with your presentation.
So I think I wanted to start by having the homeowner and co-applicant just give a brief statement, and then I can come back for any technical questions or to.
Keep your voice up, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank the board for their service. I know you guys served some long evenings doing this. So I'm the property owner. Three main reasons we're requesting the variance. We currently have a deck on the side of our house, which technically counts as the front yard since we're the corner property. We have an existing deck that we would like to have redone. Main issue we want to have the deck redone is for outdoor space. Our lot is more narrow than the majority, if not all of the lots in our neighborhood with similar zoning for our homes. So we don't have great outdoor yard space for the family or children to use for, outdoor play. Also, the limited yard space that we do have slopes away from the house. There's really no flat areas. So the deck provides our outdoor space. Second, in part of having the deck redone, there's some safety concerns that this will address. We're also having a roof put on the deck. The deck acts as the main point of access to our front door for our home. So during the winter months when we get ice, snow, rain, and then temperatures drop, the deck freezes before any other surface. So we're constantly dealing with ice and snow on the deck. Having the roof over the deck will help alleviate some safety concerns for access to the property. And then lastly, an issue of the deck has a westerly facing, so in the afternoon during the summer, it just bakes, and the deck is borderline unusable during the summer months. So part of redoing the deck and having the roof is it will give us more access and more use of the deck, as well as providing some shade to the home, which hopefully will slightly help us with our cooling bills during the summer. So that's it for me.
Do you have any plans or drawings or photographs that you want to refer to?
You can sit. It's better to sit, actually. Please sit and talk into that mic.
So I do believe there's photos in our packet along with the structural plans that we submitted for permitting.
Okay, well, normally the way we handle this is, you identify the drawings, the plans, the photographs. Usually it's pre-marked, but we can go through them and mark them A, B, C, and D, et cetera, and then at the end you would move them into evidence.
Okay.
All right, so why don't you get started with the ones that you want to use? And of course, you can put this out on the desk, and we'll be able to see it
On the
either
screen.
on the TVs here, and the people in the audience can see it up there on the big screens.
So what I have here on the desk are just the structural plans for the deck and roof structure. I won't go through each page unless you guys have any particular questions regarding the structural
Well,
plans.
this is your chance to present the case and justify why you need the zoning, or the applicant needs the zoning relief that you're seeking. So it's on you to tell us the things that we need to know in order to make a decision.
Okay. So I'll keep it as brief as possible here. As you can see, the dimension we have marked for the extension of the deck is 14 feet.
Okay, so you're looking at what is identified here as overall plan?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're going to make that Exhibit A, all right?
Perfect.
And tell us what this plan is showing.
So this plan is showing, the broad strokes of the deck structure and picturing the roof over top of it, as the homeowner has discussed. The deck would not extend into the, let's call it the shorter side front yard where the steps are beyond the extent of the home. So we're compliant in that side of the property.
The photograph that's in the lower right-hand corner of Exhibit A, what is that showing us?
That is showing the existing wood deck that we've referred to in our application.
Now, is that, according to your application, is the dimensions of the deck going to change? Is it going to be enlarged?
So the point of the extension point in question is, if you're looking at that picture, the left side, that small bump out where the grill is located. We propose to extend no further than that point, and based on the dimensions and the shape of the lot, that point is closest to the front yard lot line. The lot sort of tapers off toward the rear of the home. And I think it would be potentially a good time to introduce the plot plan as an exhibit as well.
Okay, now where is that, which, can you put that on the screen?
Yes. So I'm pointing to,
Hold on for a second.
oh, God.
Is this in the packet of the plans that you handed up?
It is, yes.
Oh, there, Bailey Road.
And I believe the board has a copy of the plot plan without the proposed, as well as the proposed, which contains the blue and orange color, showing the open deck area and the covered deck area.
Is this,
That is the plot plan without the proposed. If you'd like, I can put that on camera for the record.
yeah, I think you should.
Okay. Can I grab a copy from the board? I don't have a copy here.
Okay, so we'll make this Exhibit B. And just when you get it, identify it as what it is so that the court reporter knows and the
Thank you. So we have Exhibit B here on camera, which would be the existing conditions plot plan showing the improvements of the lot. The dimension that I'm pointing to here is that 8.8 feet, which is the furthest extent of the existing wood deck. That wood deck is a nonconformity on that 25-foot front yard setback.
an existing nonconformity.
That's an existing nonconformity, that's correct. So then jumping back to, have we labeled this exhibit yet?
This would be C.
Jumping back to Exhibit C here, I'm pointing to the same dimension, 8.8 feet, that we're proposing we extend out to, which is, no further than the current existing nonconformity.
And it looks like there's going to, the deck will be extended on its, there's an orange portion, it says, deck,
So the orange portion would be the uncovered area of the deck. The blue portion is the covered area.
and that's Exhibit C, is that right?
That's correct.
And the photograph that we looked at earlier, there's,
And I do have
there's a packet of
closer look,
photographs of
correct.
showing the current deck. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I would direct the board's attention to the fourth page of that packet. And I would like to introduce the photo on that page as Exhibit D, I believe we're on.
Okay, we're just going to mark this packet as
One whole exhibit.
D1. And I'm just going to mark the rest for you. I'm going to, I'll hand these back to you so you can. D3 is the picture that I think you are showing us right now. I'm sorry. That would be, D2 would be the picture that you're showing us right now, showing the side of the bump out.
That's correct.
Okay. And D3 shows the steps going up to the porch or to the deck.
That is correct.
And
And then kind of one thing I'd like to point out here in that picture, this is sort of the reason why we're here, that bump out is a cantilever. You can sort of see through the skirting that there's a footer there. I believe the conditions are that if we had a footer underneath of that area that's a cantilever, that would not be a cantilever. If it had a footer, then we wouldn't need to be here in front of the board.
why is that?
Because the cantilever makes, it's based on the interpretation of the zoning officer, but obviously we're just looking to be, compliant here. and that was his interpretation.
Okay. And then D4 of this, and this package shows the situation of the house when viewed from the corner of the street, right? And you can see the porch, the deck.
That's correct.
Okay. What is, and this next one, the final photograph is D5. What is that? It's an overhead shot, but what is its purpose? What's it showing?
Just showing the sort of dimensionality of the lot and the fact that it's a corner lot. We anticipated that there would be some confusion, given that we had stated at one point that this was a side yard and that we're actually looking at a front yard.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the deed down there in front of you? Okay.
I do not have a copy. I do believe it's in the packet.
Okay, so this is going to be Exhibit E. We've already heard from the owner. I'm sorry, yeah, this is the deed to the property to the current owner, Nicholas Dewarke and Natalie Bryn Dewarke, is that correct? Is that right, sir?
Yes, yes.
The first item we spoke about was A, which is the overall plan. So we're going to take A and mark the ones behind it in sequence as this would be A1. What does A2, which is it says section. It's clearly showing a section here. What is that drawing telling us?
So this section shows the wall construction of the proposed covered porch area, as well as the substructure construction of the deck-style framing underneath it.
And A3, which is the next section.
A3 just shows the finished details of said covered roof structure, as well as the railings around the deck structure below.
Now, on that is identified white PVC trim. What is are they lights that are along the edge?
There are skirting lights underneath, yeah. That's what you're looking at, the black images that I'm pointing to.
Okay.
No.
And which way are they pointed?
So they can be directed, at the homeowners, what they choose, but they're generally directed downward.
A4, which is the next page on this is the framing plan, correct?
That's correct.
A5, what is A5? It's a footing plan, correct?
That is the footing plan, which depicts the existing footer that we discussed earlier. So that is the existing footer of the existing wood deck. At one point, we believe that we could avoid a variance if we kept the existing footer, so we showed the location of that footer. The zoning officer noticed that that footer did not extend out to, where we thought, and that's sort of how we're here.
A6 is the decking plan. What is this the decking plan without the roof cover?
Yeah, the decking is consistent all the way underneath the roof and in the exposed deck area. So this plan just sort of details the layout of the decking. The decking would be laid parallel to the home.
And what's the, is it removable? Is it the cover over the deck, is it intended to be removable, seasonal?
The roof structure?
Yeah.
No, it's stick framed 6x6 posts and cut roof style with rafters.
And then A7 is a lighting plan, correct?
That's correct.
And this shows what the lighting plan would be under the roof.
Yep, as you can see, we're proposing a set of LED lights in the ceiling, as well as a soffit light where the proposed roof structure overhangs the open deck structure. An outlet, as noted, pointing to it now, and lights to operate said lighting, or switches rather, to operate said lighting.
And A8 is the, just a sheet, okay, and I guess it's somebody's signature on there, okay.
That would be the homeowner's acknowledgement of the plans.
And then we have two drawings. I think we've already discussed these. One drawing showing, I don't know what we marked this, but I do want to mark it because you brought it here. And that's this plan right here. It shows the corner lot. It has the blue decking. I can't read what's written there. It shows the existing decking with the cover, with the roof cover on it, and has a drawing down here.
And as a point
Can
of
you describe that again for us?
As a point of clarification, this is the existing conditions plot plan. So the deck that's pictured, it does say wood deck there. That deck that exists now is uncovered.
Yeah, this is the existing one. Okay. So we'll mark this F1 and F2. Okay. And I guess your application should have been A, but we'll make this Exhibit E. Anything else you have? Okay.
So if I may, I just wanted to, while we're labeling exhibits,
Say that again?
if I may, while we're labeling exhibits, I just wanted to introduce some letters of approval from neighbors,
Okay.
if it pleases the board.
How many letters do you have there?
Quite a few. We have 12, but I can highlight. There
Well,
are.
why don't we make that just G 1 through 12, I think. No, F, I'm sorry. Be up to F, I've lost count. H, yeah. This is G here. So we're up to H. Okay, so mark your exhibits as H 1 through 12.
And then I do have copies I can distribute.
Right, well,
to the board.
mark your exhibits, okay? And then you can hand them up to the board afterwards.
We're on exhibit G to H.
Yeah, H, I'm sorry.
So I'm marking a letter from Kathleen Johnston at 239 Bailey Road as H1.
I'm sorry, say it again.
So that would be Kathleen Johnston of 239 Bailey Road. Marking another letter from the adjoining property at 240 Bailey Road as Exhibit H2. And again, this would be the adjoining property. The property we're discussing is a twin. Marking the application from 835 Dreer Lane as H.
Spell that word, Greer Lane.
So 835 Dreer, D-R-E-E-R. And this is the adjacent neighbor across the street with a direct view of the proposed. I'm marking that as H3. I'm marking as H4 a signed letter from the neighbor at 833 Dreer Lane, same spelling. This is the neighbor of the aforementioned. Marking a letter from 302 Bailey Road, it's H5. Continuing on, I'm marking a letter from 303 Bailey Road as H6. Marking a letter from 243 Bailey Road as H7. A letter from 310 Bailey Road as H8. A letter from 311 Bailey Road as H9. A letter from 170 Wentworth Lane as H10. A letter from 314 Williams Road as H11. And finally, I'm marking a letter from 333 Williams Road as H12.
Okay, you want to hand those?
Absolutely.
You have two other exhibits down there, don't you, that I handed down to you after we identified them?
Oh, yes. Yep. And I'll bring those back up.
So, do you have any other testimony that you want to give us?
I don't believe so. I think
Okay.
at this point, we've covered the exhibits, we've given our narrative, so I would open it up to the board with any questions.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may? Yeah, a couple questions. Okay, so it's a 25-foot required setback, is correct?
That's correct.
All right, and the bump out on the existing deck is at 8 feet 8 inches, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the proposal then is to bring the entirety of the deck out to that 8 foot 8 inch mark?
That's correct.
Okay. Are you going, based on the photograph, looking at the deck, I don't know which picture I was looking at, but it looks like there's a chimney where the deck comes to an end. Are you going past that chimney?
We are not.
So the footprint's going to stay the same except for bringing it out to that bump out?
That's correct.
Okay. How about the tree that's shown in that front yard? Is that impacted at all by what's being proposed?
So although that tree is kind of covered in the plot plan that I'm pointing to, it would remain unaffected.
Okay. I believe the homeowner said that they use the porch as their primary means of ingress and egress. But that porch, maybe you step up, please. My question's more for you. That doorway, though, is not the front door to the home, correct?
It is.
Okay, so then, let me find the pictures then. So it's D. Yeah, so D,
So this is the front door where I'm pointing at.
the fourth page in. Okay, so go to D4, if you wouldn't mind.
D4 is the one that shows the corner, the house sitting on the corner. It's from taken across the
Yeah, that
corner.
one. So what then, what's there, what appears to be, should be a front door, but it's not? There's no door there? Is that the testimony?
I'm not sure what you're speaking about specifically.
It looks like there's maybe a slide in that photograph.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's windows.
With windows.
Yeah. So that
House was
is,
constructed with the front door
yes, so
over there.
those homes, there's 4 of them, I believe, and the main entrance is actually on the side of the house, not the front of the house.
Okay.
The side of the house where you presently have the deck, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Any impervious coverage that we need to be worried about? The proposal doesn't exceed maximum?
We have calculated the impervious area, and we are not an infringement on that part of the zoning ordinance. So,
Okay, and this last question is going to be hard to articulate, but the right side of the deck, I'm facing the front door, the right side of the deck where you're proposing uncovered, in exhibit, I think it was one of the Fs, but the zoomed in version was C. Yeah, so in C, that yellow component, it's coming further off the house, which brings it closer to the front yard setback. But do we know what the dimension is from where the letter K is down to the property line on that curve?
so I think we don't have that dimension. Obviously, it's not here on this plan, but the point of, closest encroachment on that front yard setback would remain that 8'8" that we've been highlighting.
So, sorry, excuse me, that front portion, that's not any closer than what the existing deck is currently. That's going to stay the same.
Okay.
So this portion here, it will be in line with the existing deck, which is in line with the front of the house.
Okay, that was Exhibit C.
Okay. I had one more, but it's not coming to me. Somebody else.
What is the slope of the roof?
So I'm opening back up the exhibit that features the structural plans, and I'm pointing to the 12/3 3¾ rather, that shows the slope of the roof.
How far off the house will the roof come? I would call it width, but I don't know.
So are you asking how far it would extend in terms of?
It's going to cover the whole deck?
It covers the whole deck. Covers the whole deck except for the area marked in orange.
Okay. And what exhibit were those renderings? So we know it sits 8.8 from the front yard setback, but do we have anything that shows us what the actual dimension of the deck is? Oh, I see it, 14 feet.
That's correct. That would be the projection
And
off
so
of.
the roof would then also be likewise 14.
That's correct.
Are you going to enclose the deck in any way, screened in or anything like that?
So that is not in these, our plans. If the board was looking for that as a concession or a condition of approval, I'm sure we would acquiesce to that.
Yeah,
If
only
need
what's
be.
in front of us, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I have no other questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
The peak of the roof, is that going to be approximately where the sill plate is for the second-story windows?
So it's designed to, be comfortably under that. So it doesn't quite reach the sill plate, it's under it. If you can see in this exhibit I'm pointing to, that's, we sort of measure the relevant sides of the home. So that is to scale, that is the positioning of the windows. And
Say that again?
so I'm just highlighting that in this exhibit that I'm pointing to with the structural plans, particularly this section, the depiction of the windows on the home is to scale and accurate. We do measure the relevant sides of the home. So as you see, it is how things would fall. And the roof would not quite come up to the sill plate.
That's A2 that you're referring to, I believe.
A2.
Kevin, does this change the status from, because it's a deck, but now it's going to be essentially a room since it's covered?
We treat decks because they're attached to the structure as part of the principal structure. So the reason why they're here is the existing deck is being removed in totality. And we thought so there was testimony about that initial footer that was further in because of that cantilever, that if they were able to preserve that, then they would be preserving a portion of the nonconformity and could extend upon that. Unfortunately, they were not able to preserve that and extend upon it, so they're basically here for, because they're removing the old deck, they're abandoning that nonconformity, and they're coming back in with a request for a new deck.
Okay, thank you.
But no, the roof does not change anything in terms of the deck.
Right.
I guess maybe to Rich's question, if they were to enclose that and submit a permit for that, we would deem that to be in violation of what was presented in front of this board, and would require them to come back for that, because it'd be different than the exhibits and testimony put on.
Right. So we're talking about the encroachment into the front yard setback, but also you're increasing the impervious above the 40%. Is that correct?
I don't believe so. I don't think we're going over the impervious limit.
Okay. I thought I had seen in there it was like 44.
No.
Okay.
Well, why don't we, is that reflected in your plans?
It is reflected in our plans.
Let's find that and identify it on the record.
Okay.
I think it might be F. I don't know what number this was made.
Yeah.
F1
Yeah,
or 2.
and so you guys have a copy of that, but I don't here. I can grab a copy if you want me to put it
Yeah,
on
there's a-
camera.
Shows,
The required tabulation.
yeah, proposed impervious 29.4.
Okay. That's all.
Okay, and that's recorded on D4, right? Or
It was
No.
F.
F?
F, I don't know which number, 1 or 2. The colored one.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
Is the roof shingling going to be the same as the main structure?
Yeah, I do believe so. So we've identified the existing shingles on the roof, and we propose to purchase shingles that match and install.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Do you have any other evidence to present?
No further evidence. If the board wants copies of these neighbor approval letters, I think that would be the only
Yeah,
procedural thing
Why
left.
don't you, we'll move all your exhibits into evidence now. Just, you say it.
So I think we've stated all of them as far as.
If you move your exhibits that we've talked about, do you
Oh,
move them into
yeah.
evidence?
Yes.
Okay, they're admitted without objection.
Thank you.
All right, now the two that I gave back to you, can I have those?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's. Okay, so that's B. And how about your, the letters here? And I think all of those are marked. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So I think we have all of your exhibits that have been moved in and accepted. And now, any public comment? Any public comment? Please come up, be sworn in. Identify your name and address.
You'll raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And state your name and spell it.
Roberta, Roberta, Winters, like the season with an S. And I live at 326 Williams Road, and I'm a neighbor, and I frequently walk by their house. And I think they've done a wonderful job with a lot of the improvements they've made in the house in the past few years. It's noticeably improved. My concern is when I walk by, it seems like that might be very close to the sidewalk, and I guess that's because it is close to the sidewalk because of that side setback. And the other thing that I notice when I walk by the property is it seems very massive, and I think it may be the color choice they have on it now, but it also extends to the rear of the property. I believe there's an additions that go back, am I not correct? The previous owners built additions off the back that you don't really see in the pictures. And so I just wanted to make people aware that there are other structures on the house than you can see beside the setbacks. And as, you know, I understand what they're trying to do, but I also think there are some doors in the back, but I understand why you use that side door as the front. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, any board discussion? Okay. Can I have a motion regarding the application?
Sure, I'll do it, John. I'll make a motion that the application be approved and we grant relief from section 280-35A3 of the code to permit the encroachment into the 25-foot front yard setback in accordance with the plans, exhibits, evidence, and testimony presented tonight.
Second?
I'll second it.
Let me call the vote.
Discussion?
I'm sorry, discussion, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll be quick. I actually thought what the homeowner said at the very beginning, you know, when we need to grant a variance, there has to be a valid reason for it, and I think he laid out or articulated for pretty well. It is a very narrow lot. It's a 25-foot wide at its most narrow. It looks like just under 25 feet. Odd shaped on a corner, so it's got several strikes. So the shape of the lot, certainly, applicant didn't create this hardship. The little flat yard space that exists, the fact that the deck faces west and you could use some relief from the sun, I think all mitigates towards the grant of the variance. So I'll be in favor of the motion. Notwithstanding your comment that it does encroach, however, it does not, the plan does not encroach closer than what already exists. So that's in terms of that 8.8 feet. Yeah, thank you.
It's the way I look at it, with the garden bed that's already there, if that's going to be pushed out, it seems like there's not really going to be changing of the footprint in regards to usage. So I think another factor to support this.
Yes, I agree that it's a rather small adjustment to what was there previously, and of course the ability to have a cover over it really helps the property because of the location in terms of the sun blasting in there in the summertime. So I also am in favor of it. Any other board comment? Let's call the vote.
Aye, I'm in favor.
Aye.
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 Okay. So it's approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is appeal number 3204. The applicants Susan and Harry Anderson, property located at 317 Rockingham Road, zoned R4 residential. Applicant seeks a variance from section 280-30E of the code relating to rear yard setback to permit an addition to their home. Applicant also requests a variance from section 280-30, capital D, number 1 in parens of the code relating to aggregate side yard setback. Applicant further requests such other relief which may be required in conformity with the exhibits and testimony presented. Nick, good evening.
Evening, Nick Cornelia representing the applicant on this matter. This is a property in Rosemont, and you'll see by the site map here, I think as you're all aware, the Rosemont, Garrett Hill area are small lots, small homes. The gross square footage of this particular house floor area is about 2,200 square feet. What he's proposing is to put a addition on the rear of his home 10-foot by 19-foot addition on the rear, plus a small extension on the side that is 2 feet. As to the side addition, it meets the requirement of 12 feet, but it is 2 feet over the aggregate requirement of 30 feet in this zoning district. As to the rear addition, as you see, and you'll see by the rear here, the addition basically extends the area of the existing paving. In fact, when the Andersons bought this property, and it was a while
Can you say
ago
that
when they
again?
bought
The showing A7, what did you say
Yeah,
about?
we'll go, he's going to testify to all this,
Okay.
and I'll mark, they're already marked, and he'll testify as to what it is, but basically, the addition will not extend any further than this edge of the existing paving as it exists now in the rear yard. When he purchased the property, in fact, there was a pool that he tells me that was about a foot or 2 feet from the rear property line. He has since removed that pool. Again, it was years ago, and he has filled that in. His family matters, and and grandchildren and extended family has developed to a need for this addition to give a little more living space for the property. Here's the property itself. It's been marked as A6. Again, we'll introduce these as part of the testimony. That's the front of the home. The A8 is the rear of the home, looking to where the addition would be located. And actually, the side addition is very similar to the addition that you see on the neighbor here in A8. It's another 2-foot addition with a similar sloped roof. And in fact, the addition on the rear of the property is a 1-story addition. And the roof would be similar to the roof that you see at the neighbors there. So, and also, it is very heavily buffered in the rear so that the rear addition would be very difficult to be seen. I've marked an additional exhibit as A9, and if you compare A7, which is one corner of the property, and A9, which is the other corner of the property, and it's an extended row of arborvitae, the actual addition would be lower than that row of arborvitae. So, swear in Mr. Anderson.
Do you have A9 to hand up? I don't see it in here.
I'll mark it, I'll hand it up.
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your full name, please.
Harry Anderson. Is that rain?
Harry, what's your relationship to the property?
I'm the owner.
With your wife?
With Sue, yes,
Okay. And A1's the application
yes.
on this? And you heard my opening as to what relief we are requesting, and is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And A2 is the deed to this property, correct?
Correct.
Now, you purchased the property in 1980?
Correct.
Okay. And would it be, how many children did you raise there?
3.
And is there ever growing family and a need for additional space?
Yes, so my daughter moved away. She's out of state. She comes back and visits us every summer she comes in mid-June and leaves mid-August. She comes with her husband and her 3 children. Her 3 children are now 10, 12, and 14, so they're much larger than than before. And so we're trying to make these changes so we have more room in the living room and in the kitchen to accommodate them. And then I have an older son than my daughter, and then there's a 21-year difference between my daughter and my youngest son. And my youngest son is in school and he'll be coming back in the summer after the semester's over.
Okay, I'm going to mark as what has been marked as A3, and this is an aerial of the property, right? Harry, yes?
Yes,
You gotta
correct.
respond. Okay. And this is your property here with the arrow on it?
Yes.
And you have your neighbor, I guess if you're facing your home to the right, then you have a neighbor to your left. And looking at the neighbor to the left, is the addition pretty much the same size as the addition that they're showing in the rear, and pretty much the same distance from the property line?
Yeah, so they're mirror images, the two properties. Brian Lindsay, on the picture here to the right, his 2-foot extension is on the other side of me, and then he has the backyard. Yes, he has that, and that's what we intend to do, what Brian now has. And then on the left, Bill's home, he has the knockout on my side, and they don't have the back like Brian does.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as A4, and this is the site plan, and just an accurate representation of the property
Yes, correct.
and of your proposed addition. Correct? You got to
Correct.
respond. Remember, you have to respond.
Sorry.
All right. And the addition is 10 feet toward the rear property line, which I believe violates the setback by approximately 5 feet. Would that be accurate?
That's correct.
And that is 19 feet long. Now, we also did an impervious coverage calculation, which has been marked as A5, and you comply with the impervious coverage requirements of the zoning code?
That is correct.
And just quickly going through the photos, which we've already gone through once, A6, that's the front of your home.
That is correct.
A7 is the rear of your home.
That is correct.
And where would the addition be going?
On the rear of the home?
On the rear of the home.
So it would start at the end of the house and go to the parting line between, it's a split level, so it goes for one length of the bottom level.
Is it a one-story addition?
It's a one-story addition.
And how about the height of that addition? What would be the height approximately of the
So
addition?
basically, that line right there.
Yeah, I think, do you know how many feet approximately?
I'm going to say probably 11 feet.
And as we mentioned, you have arborvitae in the rear, on the
That's
rear
correct.
property.
Yes.
And as A7 shows one portion of the arborvitae, correct?
That's correct.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked as A9. And is that the other area of the arborvitae?
Yeah, it runs the length of the
And
backyard.
it runs the whole length of the backyard?
Correct.
Is that arborvitae higher than what the addition would be?
It is higher than the addition, correct. It goes out all the way up to the wires on the telephone pole.
Okay, and again, showing as to the side addition is showing that you're 13 feet from the side property line.
Correct.
And actually, that complies with the zoning ordinance, for the zoning ordinance is 12 feet.
Got it.
And as to the aggregate is what you're in violation with, because the aggregate requirement is 30 feet, while you're going to be, if the addition is granted, you would be 28 feet.
Correct.
And would that 2-foot bump out on the side of the home be similar to the neighbors that is shown on A8?
It would be exactly the same as both Bill's and Brian's on the other side.
And would the roof line be similar?
It'd be exactly the same.
And as to the addition on the rear, would the roof line also be similar to that roof line?
I'm sorry.
Would, on the addition on the rear, would the roof line be similar to the roof line that is shown on A8?
I'm not quite sure.
Is your roof line, that roof line going to be the similar
Oh,
roof
where,
line,
yes, correct.
similar style roof?
Correct.
And it looks like your home is stucco,
It is.
and will the addition also be stucco?
It will be.
A9, just again talking about the arborvitae, that shows the arborvitae that we were referring to.
Yes.
As to building area, as I believe shown on A5. Actually, the requirement for building area is, or 30% is allowed, and you're only at 19%.
Correct.
And you're actually reducing slightly the impervious coverage because you're pulling up some of that patio in the rear yard.
That is correct. And the 2 feet extension on the side is cantilevered, so we're not breaking into the ground underneath.
Are there any similar modifications in the neighborhood as to additions?
There's many. Actually, to the right and left of me are exactly what we're trying to do. And then there are several variations of this modification throughout the neighborhood.
Have you spoken to your immediate adjacent neighbors?
So I've talked to Bill on my left, I've talked to Brian on my right, and I've talked to my neighbors across the street, up and down the street.
And did they have any objection?
None at all.
That's all I have for now.
I have a question. I guess on A4, is there anywhere on A4, maybe I missed it, that shows what the measurement is for the variance relief? I think it's probably just the math, right? It's
Sure, yeah.
34.9 existing, they're coming off
So-
10 feet.
5 foot 3 inches is what extending into the yard, because if you 34.9 minus 10 is 24.9. The requirement's 30 feet, so right, it's 5 feet 3 inches.
Are you going to keep the existing shed that appears on A4?
Correct, yes. That stores the lawnmowers and snow blowers and all the peripherals that we need. It's jammed.
I have a question, so, Mr. Anderson. So the purpose, the use of the proposed 2-foot overhang, what is the use for it, just considering that?
So the living space, so the first floor, it's a split level. So the first floor is the living room, dining room, and kitchen. And, and then there's the stairs that go up and down, and it's very narrow. And so we're going to extend it out so that we could put more furniture, so we could fit more people. So when my daughter comes, it's her husband, her 3 boys, who were small at one time and are now larger. My youngest son, Lyric, we got him when he was like 2 years old, and he's now 21. And then myself and my wife, and then my son, who lives in the neighborhood, he comes over as well. So it's in the summertime, it's a kind of a family affair.
And you have a lot of other family that, your wife's family. Yeah.
My relatives, or my wife's relatives, are probably, without exaggeration, 50% of the homeowners on my street. Yeah, to the point where I insisted on keeping my maiden name when I married her.
And then just regarding on the perpendicular corner, the side of the house, that overhang, the 2-foot overhang?
Yes.
Just what is the use for that? The one that's going to match the neighbors, you were saying. So I'm just curious of the rationale behind. Yeah, that's small.
Because right now, where our front in the living room, it's, like I said, it's very narrow.
Got it.
So
Okay.
so right now, we have 2 chairs and a couch in there, and
Okay.
there's a table, and you have to move around to sit down.
Okay, understood. That clarifies it for me. Thank you.
And when we go into Brian's and Bill's house and we see what that extra 2 feet does, it's like night and day.
That's all I have. Would request the exhibits be made part of the record, please. A1 through A9.
Mr. Chairman, I could just get a point of clarification. Earlier, I thought I heard that there was a cantilever and that wasn't counted as impervious. And I know that it looked like they were close on impervious coverage. We would count a cantilever as part of the building and would count it as impervious coverage. I
Yeah,
just want to
I-
make sure
Sure.
that we're all on the same page. I wouldn't want them to come back if
yeah.
that's something,
We are not asking for impervious coverage. I assume that the architect's calculation, I agree, it counts as impervious. I would assume that that's included. Just looking at how he calculated the total area, he's still calculating the building and the shed. He would have to comply. I know, okay. It could be close. I'm just looking at it. We're not asking for impervious coverage relief.
So that's off the ground by about 4 inches.
Yeah.
Is that not considered?
I think he makes it. I just added it up. But that's 2 feet. That's an additional 30 feet it would be of impervious, which would bring him to 3225, and the existing is 3262, which is 39%. So he's less than existing, still less than the 39% that's existing.
Any public comment?
Roberta Winters. Do I need to spell it? I live at 326 Williams Road, and this is the neighborhood, and I would just like to confirm what Mr. Anderson has said, that this is consistent with what many of the people do who live in these houses, with a little cantilevered side piece and an addition to the backyard, which doesn't really change the appearance at all to the split levels in those 3 block areas.
Any other public comment? Seeing none? More discussion? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Make the motion that we approve a variance for section 280-30E of the code relating to rear setback and to section 280-30D, parent 1, relating to aggregate side yard setback consistent with the exhibits and testimony presented tonight.
I'll second.
Vote? I'm sorry, discussion? Discussion?
I mean,
Second.
I don't have a whole lot. It seems pretty straightforward. It seems like they're addressing the impervious issue. That was the only concern I had.
Yeah, I think the proposal's in line with, in keeping with the neighborhood, and, dare I say the relief is reasonably minimal for what's necessary.
Yeah, I agree with that observation. I think it's a minimum relief that encompasses the minimum relief that we need to grant to the homeowner, to landowner, to be able to do what they need to do, and it seems to be very reasonable and in keeping with the neighborhood in general and other changes to the houses over the course of years. So I'm in favor of it. Let's call the vote. Zach?
Aye, I'm in favor.
Rich?
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
So it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so hopefully I'll get it before then.
Thank you so much.
You want that one? Okay. 3204.
The next item on the agenda is Appeal number 3205. The applicant, 40 Chetwin Road LLC, property located at 201 Spring Mill Road and zoned R2 residential. The applicant seeks variance from Section 280 11-112D of the code steep slope regulations, in order to remove a soil stockpile and a second small area of steep slope from the premises in order to construct a single-family residence. Applicant also seeks special exception under Section 280-112N, 2 in parens, of the code to install sanitary sewers in the steep slope area. In the alternative, applicant seeks a variance and/or such other relief required under the zoning code consistent with the exhibits and testimony presented. Nick?
Evening. Nick Canilia, representing the applicant on this matter. Again, first I have A3, and this is just an aerial view of the property. And as that's been stated in the application, this is a 2-lot subdivision. Application's been made to the Planning Commission for the subdivision. There was an issue raised regarding steep slope, some of it man-made, some of it to run a sewer line with moderate disturbance in the rear, which requires a special exception. You'll see on A5, this is the plan. And the one area of steep slope is a soil stockpile here. This stockpile was created just a couple months ago as a result of grading that occurred. And basically, they moved that grading and that soil stockpile to this site. So it was man-made. Unfortunately, the grading permit plan did not show the existence of this or the creation of this stockpile. So that's why we're here this evening. You'll see on this plan too, A5, the reason we're asking for a special exception is the sewer lateral, the sewer line is down in the rear of the property here. And so we have to connect to it, and the only way to connect to that would be through disturbance of this steep slope, a very moderate disturbance that under the zoning code is only required to receive a special exception. There was a third area shown on this plan A5. That called for disturbance of steep slope in this area. Since this is a zoning matter that involves a land development, we had to go to the Planning Commission for their recommendations to the Zoning Hearing Board. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the removal of the soil stockpile, since it was clearly man-made and recent. Also, the approval of the special exception for the sewer line to go to the rear of the property, since obviously it's the only way they can meet the existing sewer line. But they recommended denial of the disturbance of the steep slope on the right side here, the eastern side of the property. Since that time, we've gone back to the drawing board. And we have removed the request for relief on the disturbance of the steep slope in this area. Now, this is the former plan, just to let you know. I don't want to get caught up in this again as to, remember I was in about a month or two ago. This was the former plan that shows a disturbance of steep slope with this style home. That home will not be built because obviously we are agreeing that we will not disturb the steep slope in this area. So the two requests for relief that were requesting, or two requests that were recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, which was a removal of the stockpile and the sewer lateral to extend through the steep slope in the rear of the property. So I have two witnesses, one, the developer, Brandon Riley, and then also we have the engineer to testify as well.
Nick, what's behind the property that the sewer lateral's back there?
Here, go ahead. Oh, you want to swear him in first? Yeah.
You'll-
Yeah, that's okay.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? I do. And state your full name and spell it, please.
My name is Brendan Riley. It's BrendanReilly.
I was worried I wouldn't be able to concentrate without the answer to that question.
So I think the question was what's behind the property?
Well,
So-
you know, I mean, the sewer lateral's behind the property, that,
Correct.
yeah, but I can't picture any streets back there.
So here's a court. I believe this is Woodcrest. I don't have an aerial, but there is a courtyard that comes in here that services several of these homes in that cul-de-sac.
There's an easement, correct? There's an easement for.
There is a, yeah. So there's a sewer easement. Basically, the sewer line runs directly behind. We own the adjacent parcel, so let me start by saying that. So we own this parcel here. This is connected to public sewer. This was a vacant parcel that we're now proposing a subdivision for. As you can see, there's a slight difference in where the lot lines are located.
Maybe let's look at A5.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that complex of a question.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're looking at A5, and you'll see this is the easement area here, but
Yeah.
then let's.
So essentially, the parcel with the existing home, we have access to the sewer through the sewer easement. As you notice, there's a small turnback in the property line. The sewer easement does not touch our property, so we would need relief there. So what we're proposing is a sewer easement that would grant us access into the sewer, so we don't need to encroach on somebody else's property or request relief from an adjacent property owner.
So in other words, you'll give yourself an easement.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So Brandon, what's your relationship to the applicant, 40 Chetwynd Road?
I am the applicant. I'm co-owner of the company.
Where do you live?
I live at 209 Pembroke Avenue in Wayne.
And where's your business?
It's located at the same, this company is registered at the same address.
At 209, okay. Show you the mark, what's marked as A1, that's the application, that's an accurate.
That's
description
correct.
of what you're requesting here this evening. And A2 is a copy of the deed. You acquired the property in January of 2023.
That is correct. For the record, we filed a name change with the state of Pennsylvania, so it's now Top Notch Custom Homes LLC, also known as 40 Chetwynd Road LLC. So that's why there's some inconsistencies on the application and the deed.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what's been marked as A3, and described it as an aerial of the site.
That is correct.
And you said you also own the lot that is numbered 4 on that site as well, correct?
That is correct.
And show you what's been marked as A4. And actually, I'll leave A4 for the engineer, but you probably could testify to it also. But so does A4 show the existing steep slope areas?
That is correct.
All right, and if you look at it, the 3 areas that in particular that we're dealing with, one is that circular area there, the soil stockpile.
Correct.
And the other one is the steep slope in the back that we talked about, the sewer lateral.
That's correct.
And the other is that really small stretch right here on the eastern side of this site.
That
correct?
is also correct.
And the agreement now, or the proposal here is we will not disturb that steep slope area on the eastern side of the site.
That's correct.
And you appeared before the Planning Commission, correct?
Correct.
For their recommendation on this zoning application?
That's correct.
And as I mentioned in opening, the Planning Commission recommended approval for the removal of the stockpile.
Correct.
They also recommended approval for a special exception to extend the sewer line through the steep slope in the rear of the property.
Correct.
But they recommended denial of the disturbance of the steep slope on the eastern side.
That is also correct.
And you have now withdrawn that request for relief.
Correct.
That's all I have for Brendan. We'll bring in the engineer to give you a better idea.
I'm sorry, I have a question for you. So I'm familiar with this. I don't live far. I'm probably just outside of the notice requirements. The existing home that's there, that's the property that you say you also own, correct?
Correct.
So is the subdivision then, Nick, to subdivide off the existing home and build one new home? Or
No.
am I misunderstanding?
So property 4 is the existing home, and the entire pink area is a vacant parcel. They're both known as 201 South Spring Mill Road, but they have separate tax parcel IDs. So we're not
they're
proposing
existing
any
two-
change.
It's not a subdivision then?
It is. So this is a 1.5 acre parcel, and we're proposing to subdivide it into 2 3/4 acre lots. So
Lost me in there.
this would be one lot,
Right.
and this would be a second lot, and then this is the existing house.
I understand. So in other words, as between the piece that you want to develop is one lot, the existing home is the second tax parcel.
That's correct.
I understand.
Yeah, we're not proposing anything here today on the property marked as 4. We're just identifying that we also own that.
And there's no relief needed for the subdivision, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your full name and spell.
First name is Michael. Last name is Rokosny. It's Rokosny.
And Mike, are you a registered engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes.
How long?
For 8 years.
And by whom are you employed?
Site Engineering Concepts.
And how long have you been there?
4 or 5 years.
Where'd you go to college?
Penn State.
Okay. Have you been qualified as an expert in engineering, civil engineering previously?
Yes.
And you've actually appeared before the Radnor boards before
Yes.
previously also. I'm going to show you first the what's been marked as A4, which is the existing condition plan. And if you can quickly, we already talked about it, but if you can state where the steep slope areas are located on this plan.
The first is the stockpile area located in the center of the site. The next is the area towards the south of the property, and the third area is towards the east side of the property.
How did the stockpile get there?
We reviewed previously recorded plans for the township, and it appeared that the stockpile was created as a result of a previous grading permit. There was a previous pool, shed, and then some grading, or shed and pool that were removed, and then some grading on the site, and it appears that the stockpile was created as a result of that grading permit.
And actually, you had requested a grading permit under A10?
Correct.
All right, and there was A11 is just that grading permit plan, but that plan did not indicate the creation of the stockpile, is that correct?
It did not.
And that's why we're here,
Yes.
all right, because it wasn't on the,
Nick, A11, the location drawing is incorrect.
I'm sorry, John,
The location map,
on A11?
yeah.
I see. That is not the location, let me see. Well, the aerial
It's correct.
actually has a location. I see what you're
Correct on
saying, yeah, it looks like it probably was from a,
A previous.
yes. So we had mentioned A4, the prior application, and I had mentioned that A11 was actually the grading permit plan for that A10 application, correct?
Correct.
So showing what's been marked as A5, which is the site plan. Well, first, let me show you some photos. A6, what's A6?
That is the stockpile that's on the site.
A7?
Just another view of the stockpile.
A8?
I believe that is the slopes located on the east side of the property,
And A9?
and then that is the slopes towards the rear of the property.
Now showing you what's been marked as A5. Now, can you show the board the areas of the steep slope and what would be located there? So on the lot to the left, the only disturbance of the steep slope's in the rear,
Yes,
correct?
that is for the proposed sanitary sewer lateral. On the east property, you can see the existing stockpile is located within the house print of the proposed house footprint. The other area that we're no longer requesting relief for is also in that proposed house footprint. And then towards the south of the property is the sewer lateral.
Okay, just to be certain, that the lot to the right, where the eastern slope is located, that footprint will change, is that correct? So that
That's
it's not
correct.
going to disturb the steep slope?
Yes.
We're removing that request to disturb that steep slope.
Correct.
And the property to the left, the only request is for the sewer lateral extension, and that could also change just as a result of the other one being changed, but again, that would not affect the steep slope or disturbance of the steep slope. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Talking about the sewer lateral, how is that constructed? How deep does it go, and how is it, how is it filled?
So the easement is on the south end of the property. This is the closest connection to the public main. The sewer is approximately 3 to 4 feet, so these laterals will be installed via trench. So it'd be a 2 to 3 foot wide trench and then backfilled with stone, the lateral, and then existing material will be backfilled on top of it.
So really, the slope itself would not really change that much. It would just, you're just putting a trench there and then covering it up.
Yes, we wouldn't be changing the grade of the slope, just backfilling and returning it to its natural condition.
And the stockpile, how would that be removed?
That would be removed and hauled off-site.
And then, as we mentioned, the slope to the eastern side would not be affected at all.
Correct.
Is it your opinion that the stockpile slope was man-made?
Yes.
Could I ask you a couple questions in accordance with the ordinance? Is it your opinion, within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, as to how the steep slopes were created for the stockpile?
Yes, so for the stockpile, we reviewed previous plans and it did not show that it's stockpile on there. The stockpile was created as a result of the previous permit, but was not included on the permit plan. So we received a determination from the zoning officer that since it was not approved to be in that condition, that we needed to request the relief.
And actually, the steep slope to the eastern side, for what it's worth, we could not determine if that was man-made or not.
That's correct.
And we're giving that up.
Yes.
Can you express, within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, some items that are listed in the ordinance regarding disturbance of steep slope? Would the disturbance of this steep slope create any additional erosion or sedimentation?
It would not.
Would the disturbance affect the watersheds and limit increases in stormwater runoff?
It would not.
Would the removal of the steep slope increase the possibility of landslides or soil subsidence?
It would not.
And would it have any effect on streams regarding sedimentation or pollution?
It would not.
That's all I have at this time.
I don't see any hands going up, so no public comment.
John, I would just request that exhibits A1 through A11 be admitted into the record.
Without objection.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. Yes. Okay. I would move that the application for relief from section 280-112D of the code steep slope regulations in order to remove the soil stockpile and a small area of steep slope. Nick, is that the portion that was removed from the application? The small area of steep slope?
Yeah, the smaller area to the eastern side of the plan. Again, that was removed from the application. We're not asking for that.
Okay, but I'm reading from the agenda,
Oh,
and I just want to get it right. So, to approve the variance from section 280-112D, in order to
It
remove...
probably is, I would guess. What do you
In
say?
order to remove the soil...
Stockpile, small area, steep slope. You're right. That would be the
Still need
steep.
that, or
No,
that's-
That's being removed. The small area steep slope is, we're not asking for that.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so I'll start my motion again. So I make a motion to approve the request for a variance from section 280-112D of the code steep slope regulations in order to remove a soil stockpile, and to also grant a special exception under section 280-112N2 of the code to install the sanitary sewer in the steep slope area, in accord with the testimony, exhibits, and evidence presented tonight.
Second. Any board discussion? Okay, call the vote.
Aye, I'm in favor.
Aye.
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 It is approved.
Thank you, everybody.
Get the order down one of these days.
Yes, it took me 2 years.
Are you counsel? Can I get your name,
The
please?
next item on the agenda is, thank you, is appeal number 3206. The applicant, John Fitzgerald and Pierre Raphael, property located at 514 Midland Circle and zoned R3 residential. Applicant seeks relief from section 280-25E of the code to encroach into the rear yard setback. Section 280-25F to increase impervious coverage from 40.3% to 44.3%. And section 280-27C to allow retaining wall greater than 3 feet in height to be located 2 feet off the side yard setback where 10 feet is required. What am I missing here? Oh, here it is. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members of the board, my name is David Skaggs, and I represent the applicants tonight. What we're seeking, as has been stated, is 3 variances. My client principally wants to add a second bay to their garage. I have the plan on here that is marked as Exhibit A4, and the existing conditions is located on the bottom portion of the plan. The proposed improvements are located on the top portion, you can see. And the area that I'm pointing to now would be the expansion of the garage and then the associated proposed driveway. We need a variance to encroach into the rear yard. You can see the encroachment here. Distance is about 1 to 2 feet along the side of the garage. Then we also need a variance for a retaining wall, as a portion of the wall, about 15.5 feet, exceed 3 feet in height. And it's our understanding that the township's interpretation of a retaining wall over 3 feet is an accessory structure and therefore has to meet a 10-foot side yard setback. And then the final variance we need is to increase the impervious surface from, I believe it is 40.3 to 44.3. The existing restriction, maximum impervious surface is 35. It's currently 40.3, so we're existing nonconformity. and we're looking to increase it 4%. I have 3 witnesses. I'll start with my client, then we'll talk to the architect and then the engineer. Okay?
If you'll raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
And state your full name, please.
John Bernard Fitzgerald III.
Would you like him to sit?
You
Have a
can
seat.
have a
Here's
seat
the
here.
microphone.
And speak into the mic.
All right, Mr. Fitzgerald, could you just state your name again for the record?
Yes.
No, just give me your name again.
Oh, I'm sorry. John Bernard Fitzgerald III.
Okay, and you go by Jack?
Correct.
All right. Where do you reside?
514 Midland Circle,
And
St. David's.
Who do you live there with?
My wife, Pierre Raphael.
Okay. And she's here tonight?
She's here behind us.
And do you own that property?
Yes, we do.
Okay. If you could take a look at Exhibit 1 in the packet and tell me, is that the deed to your property?
Yes.
And how long have you owned that property?
Since 1992.
And just so we have it in...
Excuse me, 1995.
Okay. And this is the property that we're here today for?
Correct.
And if you could just briefly turn to Exhibit 6 in the packet, I believe it's Exhibit 5, I'm sorry. And is that a copy of your application?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay. Now, could you just briefly describe the property for the board?
Yeah, the property is located in a cul-de-sac on Midland Circle, and it is currently, we have, it's pie-shaped. Widest is the areas in the back, and it comes to the front. It is a old 1880s carriage house, and it was then later had a small addition of a garage, and we estimate around 1920. It is a 2-story structure that has a concrete floor, brick walls, and we used to be a slate roof that we had to replace about 10 years ago with now it has an asphalt roof. It is very little insulation because it's just so old. And we had tried to do an upgrade to it about 1999 for a new kitchen and trying to upgrade the lower level. And we went, so far we've gone through 2 heating and air conditioning systems because they just burn out. It's a very cold and old building. The upstairs level is also just, there's no heating or air conditioning up there, although we do in the wintertime or summertime we do put a small heating air conditioner up there. It is a kind of stressful for us. We're getting at that age where we're looking to figure out what we want to do for our end of lives, and so we like to stay in Wayne. We'd like to stay in the house, and so we're just trying to do it. We're trying to do an upgrade of the whole building and the property.
Okay, how does the size of your house compare to the other homes in the neighborhood?
It's a little bit smaller. We're about 1,800 square feet, I believe, and the others are probably around 2,200 to 2,500, with the exception of one of our neighbors who just did an upgrade a couple of years ago. I believe it's somewhere around 35, maybe 4,000.
Okay. Could you turn to Exhibit 2 in the packet? Okay, and these are photographs of the property?
That is correct.
Let's starting with the top photograph. Could you describe what's there?
The top photograph is the aerial view from the above Midland Circle. It shows our house with the red dot on it. It has some very large existing pine trees that have been there for maybe 100 years at this point. The backyard is just simply a flat grade, and it butts up against a kind of a retaining wall back there.
How about the bottom picture?
And the bottom picture is a picture of the entry up our driveway with the trees in front.
Okay, and the second page? The picture on the left?
Picture on the left is the front wall that faces the circle.
Okay. And is that the main entrance?
No, the main entrance is on the picture, is on the side, which is the picture on the right. You can just barely see the truck that's parked there, but the door is located right next to that small mailbox.
Okay, and is where the truck parked the existing driveway?
That is correct.
Okay. And the third page? Picture on the top?
Picture on the top is the side that faces our neighbor, the Battersby's, 510 Midland Circle.
Okay, and how about the bottom?
The bottom is the back of the house. That is the old 1920s garage with obviously the house being in front of it.
Okay, so the white structure you see in the bottom of the picture, that's a single-car garage that you're currently using?
That's correct.
And so that's where you propose to put the new garage with the 2 bays?
Yes.
Could you describe what else you want to do with this property?
What we'd like to do is create a more livable and user-friendly, so to speak, dwelling and property. We'd like to extend we'd like to take the roof line down and place another roof structure above it, which would also includes a new living area. Currently, there is a lot of rodents and everything up in the attic. We've tried to have removed, but it's impossible to keep them from going underneath those old rafters. And that's one of the stresses that we do have in the places, because although we've tried and had exterminators in there, it is still leaks, rodents, squirrels, and that sort of thing that go run through it. You can hear them every day going through the roof line. The garage is really not usable because we're guessing it was designed for perhaps maybe a Model T, something small, and also kind of a low entry level. The rooftop of that is simply a rubber and tar based structure that too leaks around some of the edges of it.
And why do you want a 2-bay garage?
2-bay garages because we do currently have 2 cars. My wife has hers, and I've got mine. I still work. I anticipate working for another 5, 6, maybe 7 years or even longer. My wife is retired, but she does teach, and she is in and out like many people, going back and forth from work. So we would like to have the garages to protect our cars, because currently we don't have that, whereas the other neighbors do have garages.
The 2-car garages?
2-car garages.
Could you turn to Exhibit A3? Now, are these drawings and elevations that you've had prepared for what you propose?
Correct.
Okay, I won't ask you to go through them. The architect's here, I'll have him go through those. And then briefly, A4 is on the table. This is the plan that you had prepared for the property?
That is correct.
Okay, then I'll have the surveyor go through that. And the survey that we're submitting today, this isn't the original drawing that we had done, is it?
No, we've gone through this, several variations to try to make this fit to the township rules.
So
variances.
if you look at the bottom existing condition portion of the survey, could you describe what's in the front of the house?
In the front of the house is a circle, then it leads up to some small landscaping. Above that are trees, as I said, those old pine trees, white pines, huge trees, have been there since, maybe 100 years. They are that old. We have them maintained by Shriner Tree Services because we want desperately to keep those intact.
Okay. And how about the pinkish area?
The pinkish area is an old patio area that has slate covers.
Okay. So you understand you need a variance for the impervious surface?
That is correct.
Okay. And an attempt to get the request down as far as possible. What do you propose to do with that front patio?
We propose to take out all the slate and put it all back to the soil, because my concern is that as we get into these upcoming years with the extended droughts, I'm afraid that these trees may not be able to survive. So I think it's in the best interest of the wood the area is just, or the trees, just to take that patio out so that as rain comes down or as we water as needed, it will be absorbed before the trees.
Okay, and so you're proposing an at-grade, smaller-sized patio in the front?
That is correct.
Now, if the variances that were granted, would your improvements change the essential character of the neighborhood?
No, not at all.
Okay. And I think you said before that a lot of the neighbors have two-car garages already?
That is correct.
Okay. Have you talked to any of your neighbors about your application?
Yes, neighbors immediate to our left and right, the Callios and the Battersbys. The Callios on the 517 and the Battersbys in 510. Batterbys.
And what did they have to say?
Excuse me. They have not voiced any disapproval. They would like to see something better there because, as you can see from those pictures, as much as I've tried to clean that place up and polish it up, it doesn't fit with the neighborhood anymore.
And then Exhibit 6, that's an email from one of the neighbors?
Yes, Ms. Callio.
And she's in support of your application?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions for this witness.
Couldn't get my mic to turn on, sorry. My question probably better saved. I think you said you have an engineer.
We have
coming
the
in.
architect and the engineer.
Oh, yeah, I'll
Wanna
save
save
my
it?
questions.
Okay. Anyone else?
Did you talk to the people that are behind you, since they're going to probably be the most impacted?
No, I have not. And the reason why is because they are close to an acre and a half away behind us. We don't even see them. You can barely see the house. So that's why. And the property that's there is also wooded.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. Is there a photograph of the existing, it looks like it's a wood, oh no, I guess you have an existing stone retaining wall. Is there any photographs of the existing, just so we can get a feel for what it looks like? And then I guess the question is, why does it need to be replaced?
That's probably something we'll save for the engineer. The retaining wall that I referenced in my opening remarks is along the north side of the lot. I believe the retaining wall you had mentioned earlier is along the rear of the lot.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, can you clarify that for me? It's along the north,
So if, let's look at the existing, oh, I'm sorry. So, Jack, you were, so Jack, you mentioned that you had a retaining wall in the rear of the lot. Can you point to it for the board?
Yeah. There is a short retaining wall there, and there's also one, a small one right there that can be taken out.
Okay, good. The pink is, you just pointed to is the existing retaining wall on the, I guess, the left side of the house if you're facing it from the street.
It's going to be the east side.
East side, okay. So the retaining wall in the rear, we don't need any relief for that. The relief we need, if you look on the proposed improvement, is on the east side along the side of the driveway. And so I can have our engineer talk about that.
and that's what's indicated in brown?
Yes,
I don't know what exhibit we're on.
that should be Exhibit A4.
The proposed driveway extension is, what's currently there now? Is that grass or is that?
No, it's the bottom half going from the west side of the house, this house facing the circle, going down to the circle is a macadam. From the top back, it is a Belgian block type or brick type that's put in, again, trying to make it somewhat pervious.
Okay, but, so right now, the existing, it says landscaped area, that's impervious. I mean, that's pervious, correct? Is that a yes?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, the area on, I forgot what number you said. It's, for the existing conditions, it's marked as landscaped area?
Yes, this is all landscape.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you're proposing a driveway extension within that area?
Yes, right, slightly into it to be able to get access to the new garage.
Okay. So I guess my question, at some point, I'm going to want to hear an answer as to what considerations were given to reduce the need for the 4% increase in the impervious coverage.
So I believe earlier, our first iteration of this had a much larger front yard, thinking about preserving the existing front patio. What we did was we reduced it all the way back to what you see in the top part for the proposed patio.
Right, I get that, but you're still increasing impervious by 4% as a result of the garage and then an increased driveway
Oh,
area.
I understand, yeah, that's why we're asking for a variance.
Well, right, so what consideration, and again, I don't care who answers that, maybe the engineer will answer it, but I want to understand what considerations were given to reduce that number even further from what you're asking for.
I may be able to answer that. The maximum impervious coverage minus that at-grade patio deck in the front on the proposal, the top picture, right up in there. If we take out that deck entirely, or excuse me, the patio, if you take that out, we'll reduce the impervious coverage from what it is now of 45.9%. We'll take it down to 43.9%. In other words, we'll increase it by 2%. So in other words, we would be able to increase the pervious by 2% if we do away with that front patio.
Right, so why don't I ask?
You'd still need relief.
We'll still need relief.
Right, but you would, I don't see 45.9 on the existing.
No, I think it's, the existing is 44.3. I think what he's talking about is removing, if he removes that patio, that's about
It's
2.77%, so we'd still need about 1.5%. Which is, I think it's about 150 square feet.
Okay.
I have a quick question. In regards to the driveway, you have an extension beyond the stairs in the back. What's the purpose of that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's beyond the driveway. Is there any reason that it needs to go that far back? I feel like that would kind of be able to help address this impervious issue.
I think the proposal, or the reason for that is so that they can back out of the garage and then drive out of the driveway, instead of backing out all the way down the driveway.
Okay. Is there any way that can be reduced at all? Have you
We
considered
looked at that, and based on, and I can have the engineer speak to that, but that was the minimum amount of area that the car would need to back out of that driveway and then drive straight down.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Do you currently have the ability to back out of the driveway and drive straight down?
No, we have never parked in that garage. It's just too tight.
Any other questions for this witness? Okay. No? Okay. I'd like to call Reen Hoffman next. Yeah, thanks. Don't go far.
Reen, R-E-N-E, Hoffman, H-O-F-F-M-A-N. Company name, R.A. Hoffman Architects.
I was just going to ask, who do you work for?
Oh, I'm sorry. R.A. Hoffman.
It was, I think.
Can you hear me? How about now?
All right, Mr. Hoffman, who do you work for?
R.A. Huffman Architects in Paoli, Pennsylvania.
And is that your company?
It is.
And how long have you been working for R.A. Hoffman Architects?
Since July 1st of 1996.
Okay, are you a licensed architect in the Commonwealth?
I am.
And how long have you been licensed?
I've been licensed since 1987.
Have you testified before zoning hearing boards as an expert in architecture before?
Yes.
Okay, I would offer Mr. Hoffman up as an expert in architecture.
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, could you turn to Exhibit A3?
Okay.
Okay. Are these plans and drawings that were prepared by your office?
They were.
Could you take us through them, please?
Sure. So this is the depiction of the existing conditions of the carriage house as it is now. So the left side is the first floor, the right side is the second floor. The structure is a masonry structure, mostly brick and stone. And as Mr. Fitzgerald testified, there was a garage that was added as near as we can guess sometime in the 20s. And that portion is the one on the bottom left of the first floor plan, where you might see skinnier walls than the thicker walls, which the carriage house has thick stone walls. And on the first floor, you can see how it's set up for a kitchen in the top left, and it has like a dining room in the bottom left. It has the garage in the very bottom left. And the garage is undersized. I don't know that you could get a standard vehicle in it. And it was just kind of added on to the carriage house, I guess just probably for something like a Model T or some sort of size car like that in the 20s. There's a open living room, and there's a small powder room, and there's a staircase that is steep and winding that accesses the second floor. So that's the left side of the plan. On the right side of the plan, you see the existing second floor, and there's bedrooms designated, and there's dotted lines on those plans, and the dotted lines represent where the roofs come down, and it's like a lower eave, so you don't have full headroom height in the second floor around the perimeter walls. There's a bathroom up there, and guest room, and a master suite.
Okay. And the next page?
Next page is the exterior of the house as it is now. So you can see it's got a pitched roof, stone gables, brick gables with stone foundation, and each of the sides of the house are depicted there. The side that faces the street or Midland Circle is identified as existing front elevation. So that's what you would see when you are parked in the cul-de-sac. And the moving around to the right, you see the right side of the house, the right side that would be adjacent to the property to the south. And you can see the low section there, and the low section is the garage that was added. And the next section down to the lower right is the north-facing property elevation, and that has the existing garage door shown.
and it has the 2 carriage doors that used to be used for the carriage storage. And the last elevation is the one that faces the east, or the rear, and you can see the garage sticking out of that on the left side.
And the next page.
Next page is what we propose to do for the Fitzgeralds to accommodate their needs. So that it's going to be a new kitchen and a dining area, and there's going to also be a guest suite that is on the east side of the house next to a new garage, and the new garage would be a 2-car garage. We have an elevator so that they can access the second floor. We also are tearing out the stair that's there now, which is kind of dangerous, and putting in more of a straight run stair that accesses the second floor. It's an open floor plan. There's a foyer and living space and a dining space, and a powder room as well. And that's on the left side. On the right side, it's a proposed second floor plan, which would have the primary bedroom, closets, and a bathroom. It has a flex room that could be used as a gym, and it also has a library loft that would overlook a portion of the first floor where this stair comes up.
Okay. And then this is the next page, the last page?
Last page is the proposed exterior elevations, where we're going to take the roof off the second floor, and we're going to reframe everything on top of that, do a new pitched roof that's a mono pitch, and simplify the roof lines. And the exterior will be keeping existing stone and brick walls on the first floor, and reframing everything above that. And the exterior material would probably be a cementitious siding, like a hardy plank.
Okay. In your opinion, do the intended improvements, are they suitable for this property, and are they consistent with other properties in the neighborhood?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you hold all your opinions to a reasonable degree of professional certainty?
Yes.
No further questions?
I have a question. This subject property, it's from the 1880s. Are there any historical protections regarding this?
Not that we became aware of when we looked into that.
And is it part of the South Wayne Historic District, subject to harbor view?
I'm sorry.
Is it within the South Wayne Historic District?
I don't think so,
Radnor
no.
Township? So, okay.
I don't think it's in the South Wayne Historic District.
That's too far east.
The size of the proposed garage, can you speak to that? Creates the 2-foot 9-inch need for the easement.
Sure.
Is there any reason why the garage wasn't designed within the, is that the side yard there, the side yard setback?
Because we couldn't fit the width in for a standard garage. And that's a tight garage already. Normally, if we're working on projects like this, we would shoot for at least a 24-foot width, and we're kind of up against it here. We did pull at one point we had the addition behind the garage, which is the guest suite, back even with the garage, and in an effort to reduce impervious coverage, we pulled that in. So we pulled that in, like, I think 4 feet on that offset that you see, which would be on the east side. That's a...
Exhibit, you're looking at exhibit.
I'm looking at exhibit,
3. This is exhibit 3.
the floor plan that's proposed.
Exhibit 3 to
Yep.
the third page.
Yep.
Okay. And then, so looking at that same page, this garage is 22 feet 1 inch by 19 feet 5 inch proposed. Is there any reason why it wasn't drawn at 20 feet 1 inch? Or am I going the wrong direction? I'm a lawyer,
Yeah.
not an engineer.
Yeah, the average car now is probably, this average sedan is about 15.5 to 16 feet, and a truck and SUV a little bit larger. If you get into Suburbans and Escalades, they approach 19 feet.
Well,
So
right, but if that's the case, then this is a single car garage.
Yeah, well,
And
if
you
they
could
had a
reduce-
Suburban-
And you could reduce the footprint of it, correct?
if it was a single-car garage, you could, yes. But I mean, pretty much everyone looks for a two-car garage anymore, so.
Yeah, but
And the
that's not
fact,
answering my question.
what was your question?
So what's the width of, what's the needed width for a two-car garage? 22 feet 1 inch?
Ideally, yes.
Okay. Is there any reason why you can't go 20 feet 1 inch, for instance, and make the variance request 9 inches?
I guess if you didn't mind like a tighter fit in the garage, but practically speaking, the size we were showing is like what we felt would be the minimum.
That's what I'm getting to. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Is the lap pool that back there, is that part calculated into the impervious surface?
I believe it is.
Pardon me,
It's my understanding the water service is pervious.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions?
No? Okay, thank you. My last witness would be Michael Rokosny. Would you like me to qualify this witness, or may I offer him as an expert in engineering?
Without objection.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Sorry. I do. First name is Michael. Last name is Rokosny. It's Rokosny.
Mr. Rokosny, your office prepared the exhibit that we've marked as A4.
Correct.
And could you just go over some of the relief that we've been talking today and why it's necessary? If you want to, you could start with the rear setback line.
Yes. So the rear setback line is shown as this dark dashed line. The addition is shown in this darker tan color. The rear yard setback is approximately 27,000 square feet, and the addition extends 54 square feet into that setback. The next area of relief that we're asking for is...
Before you leave that,
Sorry.
It's not a straight line. Can you tell the board the distances that are encroaching on one side versus the other?
On the longest that it's encroaching into the setback is 2.9 feet, and the shortest is 1.8 feet.
Okay. You were about to talk about the second variance request?
Yes, the second is for the wall being considered an accessory structure. So there is a 15.5-foot portion of the wall that is over the 3 feet in height that is qualifying as an accessory structure. It's shown in the plan as this like dashed pattern along this wall. That wall in that area goes from 4 feet to 4.33 feet. And that wall is proposed to support the driveway expansion.
Okay. Now, the impervious surface, you're aware that the property is an existing nonconformity with regard to impervious?
Correct.
And it's currently at 40.3%?
Correct.
And the maximum is 35%, I believe?
Yes.
All right, so based on the calculations in the plan, we were seeking a variance to go to 44.3 or an additional 4%.
That's correct.
All right, so you heard Jack's testimony earlier that he'd be willing to forego the proposed reduction of the front patio to remove the patio altogether.
Yes.
Okay, do you know about the square footage of that front patio?
The proposed at-grade patio is 277 square feet.
So if we removed that, how much would we be asking for relief on the impervious surface?
I believe that would take it to approximately 42.5 to 43%.
So about 1 to 1.5%?
Approximately.
All right, and based on your opinion, are these improvements consistent with other properties in the neighborhood?
Yes.
And If we remove the front patio, is the relief requested the minimum relief necessary for the proposed improvements?
Yes.
And do you hold all your opinions to a reasonable degree of professional certainty?
Yes.
No further questions?
But if you remove
He's
the
smiling.
pool-
Look at him.
the pool- if you remove the pool and that front patio, you'd be very close, like,
So the only impervious area that's coming from the proposed pool is the coping. There's a 1-foot coping around there. The water surface is
would
considered.
change that?
No, that's the way we've been calculating it for the last 14 years, that the water
Really?
surface does not count towards impervious coverage.
Okay. Because I was saying that would also eliminate the need for that very high retaining wall right on the back border.
That wall is less than 3 feet in height.
Yeah.
Yes, we're not seeking any relief with regard to that wall.
No, I understand. That's all I have.
Okay, so I'm gonna, hopefully you can answer my question. Let's talk about the proposed driveway extension.
Yes.
I guess what consideration was given to make that the minimal necessary relief requested with respect to impervious coverage? Because that clearly impacts your impervious calculations.
Yeah, so there's two things that we did here. One is to tier the retaining walls. That's separate from your question, but that keeps the wall heights to a minimum. The second is we use like vehicle turning templates to just kind of analyze what direction vehicles need to be in. So we typically recommend 25 feet from the edge of your garage to the edge of the driveway, and this is still below that recommendation, and we're at about, I believe, 22 feet. And then for a turnaround area, we typically recommend 10 to 15 feet, and I believe this is 10 feet. So we're trying to use the minimum to still be able to turn a vehicle around in there.
Well, you get a package deal on a couple minis.
What was that?
A package deal on a couple minis.
Yes.
Okay, how about stormwater? I know it hasn't been mentioned tonight, but, you know, is there any proposal to upgrade? I would imagine there's zero stormwater management controls on this existing property.
Yes, we'd have to comply with the township ordinance for stormwater requirements.
Is there any consideration given to creating stormwater management above the required in order to offset the impervious coverage you're seeking?
We would consider that. We typically just follow the township ordinance.
Okay, and then I guess I'll ask you the same question then. On terms of the width of the garage necessary, I forgot what you said. The least amount is 1 foot, couple odd inches, I think you said, to 2 feet 9 inches at most, correct, on the encroachment?
1.8 feet to 2.9 feet.
Right, right. So the 1.8 feet, what does that represent?
The 1.8 feet it's shown, this is like the garage door side, and that is, so the property, or the setback line is shown in this dashed line. The garage addition is extending 1.8 feet over that setback line.
I see, and it comes down on a bit of an angle, which is why it increases?
Yes, as the owner stated, the house is kind of a pie shape, so the house isn't exactly perpendicular to the rear property line.
Yeah. Okay, so what consideration then was given to then try and keep that garage within that setback?
We usually defer to the architect to just do the minimum size of a proposed garage addition.
That's all I have.
I have a question. So you said the retaining wall is broken into two behind the driveway?
Yes.
And that's those two brown lines behind the driveway, right?
Yes, these thicker brown sections are shown as retaining walls.
Okay. So that brick walk and shed would no longer be there?
Correct. So the bottom portion is the existing conditions and demolition plan. Anything hatched in the reddish, pinkish color is what's proposed to be removed.
Right. It just lined up. That's what I was
Yes.
curious. Okay. Makes sense.
Yes, I should ask, what's the purpose of the retaining wall along that driveway? Is it sloped in there, or?
Which retaining wall are you referring to?
The proposed, the one that needs relief.
We'd have to bring the grade up to be able to just not have a steep drop-off for that driveway.
Unless the board has any other questions, that's my final witness. I have no other evidence to present, and I would request my exhibits be admitted.
The exhibits are moved in without objection.
Thank you.
Public comment? Okay, please come forward.
And I'll swear you in. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And state your full name and spell it for me.
My name is Paul Wissel, W-I-S-S-E-L. I'm here with my wife, Deborah. We live at 214 St. David's Court in St. David's.
You can have a seat and use that microphone, please.
Thank you so much. I'd like to...
You have to use the mic.
I'm sorry, is this in your way? Do you want me to move it?
It is yours. I'm here to register some concerns about the plan that was just proposed. Just to orient you to where we are and relative to the property. This was a diagram that has been sent to Radnor and approved when we did remodeling several years ago. This is our house here. It's on one of the higher points of our neighborhood. If you look at the old maps, it's called Tulip Hill because of the abundance of tulip trees there. And it's about 3 or 4 houses up there at that height. If you can see this map, this is our house right here. And here would be where the Fitzgerald's and Raphael's height is. So we are the back door neighbor that he referred to, and this is their side yard. This property on the east is St. David's Park condominium. If that topic comes up, we have ownership there too. So if that topic comes up, we may have standing to answer your questions about St. David's Park as well. If you notice that this is the house here and this is the Fitzpatrick's property, there's an 18-foot drop from here to their property, and the slope continues to Lancaster Avenue. In fact, in this part of the property, you sort of have to crawl up hand by foot. This is a bit more sloped, and we can walk here easily. But it's 18 feet from here to here, and there's an abundance of trees here. We're pleased to have Mr. Michael Dunn from Brandywine Urban Forest here, and he will address the tree issue with his expertise, and that's around here. So one thing I want to point out was the drop from here to there. I also wanted to describe the plans that were approved for our renovation, just to give you an idea of what the town has expected in the neighborhood. And one of our neighbors is here tonight, Mr. Gargano, who has a similar example that he will want to share to you, just to give you an idea about over the past few years, the kind of things Radnor has asked the neighbors to do to have consistency in the neighborhood. Sorry for making a mess. Thank you, dear. This is the same plot plan. For orientation, the Raphael Fitzgerald's property line would be here, and here is the Radnor Park condominium here. So we would be able to talk to both because we have ownership for both. And here the trees are identified. So I just want to show you what we needed to do when we asked for this to be done. Now, this is R2, and we had impermeability of 15%, and our plans went up to 16%. We removed some areas that were impermeable to make grass, but Radnor felt that that cannot be made permeable because at one point it was impermeable. So we had a 1 percentage point increase of our permeability. And to accomplish these things, we needed to have a rain garden put here. And the rain garden functions nicely. But we also, you have that? Our architect was also instructed to have the setbacks to code. So right here we had our bedroom and bathroom, but we scooched the bathroom in a little bit so we could meet code requirements for the 10 feet from our neighbor here, similar to the shed. So the things that we wanted to demonstrate as an example was that to have this approved, a rain garden was needed for a 1 percentage point up to 16% for an R2. And we did alter the diagram here, so we have that 10-foot setback. So that's what we have done, and it's a beautiful renovation. We're really happy with it. So I just want to describe you here. Mr. Gargano will come up in a bit, and his house is right here. So he's a neighbor very close to the Fitzgeralds and the Raphael's house. The other thing I wanted to point out was that I was a little confused about the current legally non-compliant impermeability of 40.3%. What I understand is that their pie-shaped lot has Midland Circle as part of their lot, and that concrete legally is not considered impermeable in calculating. So if that's the case, then the impermeability is much more than 40%. So that may be something you're expert at, but it seemed to me what I have heard when I visited Radnor here and asked the question, they said the current law that may be changed has that pie-shaped lot of concrete as grass. So the 40% may be an underestimate. The other thing is you've heard that they're asking for a 4% increase. That's not correct. It's 4 percentage points. 4% of 40 is 1. They're asking for a 4% increase, a 4 percentage point increase. But in fact, if your baseline is 35%, they're asking for a 30% increase of impermeability from what the code is. So yes, 40% is grandfathered in because of the law, but if you look at the baseline of 35% going up, that's a 30% increase in impermeability. So that's another concern of ours. So those are the things I've detected, which is my concern, hopefully your concern. The next person I'd like to talk is Mr. Dunn, who's a arborist and came to our lot at our request to give you some story about the trees. These are magnificent trees. They are just a pleasure to look at. They have been there for so long.
With all due respect, I don't know that the trees are at issue in front of us tonight. And Mr. Dunn, if you're a resident of the township, then you certainly have a right to speak. But if you're not, then I would ask the chair to move on to residents that are here tonight.
I can answer that. Deborah Whistle?
Yes, you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
And state your name and spell it again.
Deborah, D-E-B-O-R-A-H, Whistle, W-I-S-S-E-L. The reason we're here tonight is that, oh, sorry, is it on?
You have to put it up.
Oh, okay. Right. The reason that we're here tonight is that there is apparently going to be a new stone wall within 2 feet of our property line. Okay? I have a tree that has a 51, my biggest tree is 51 inches in diameter and better than 75 feet tall. Mr. Dunn, who is a professional, can tell you where the root run is for all of the trees down there. These trees are irreplaceable. And also, if they're disturbed, dangerous. And they're very close to both my neighbor, Mr. Gargano's house, who's already suffered a tragedy and had to have his house rebuilt after a fire, and it would do no good for the Fitzgeralds to have a tree fall on their house. And my trees are very, very close to where their house is, and they are all tall enough to hit their house. So the 2-foot setback due to the pool, I assume, the new 2-foot setback from the property line is a real concern, much more, frankly, than the driveway.
Are you referring to your property sits to the rear of the property in question,
Right.
correct?
So
But I don't think that retaining wall is in front of us tonight.
it's actually why we were contacted, because of the retaining wall. We knew nothing about the pool or the driveway till we came and looked at the file. The letter specifically states the retaining wall to be within 2 feet of my property line.
If I could clear that up. The retaining wall
Please.
that we're seeking relief here for.
Yep, sorry. Here you go.
The retaining wall that we're seeking relief for is not along the rear boundary line. It's along the side across from the garage.
But a new retaining wall is going in within 2 feet of my property line.
Right, and that's not before you tonight.
As I understand the application, they're not asking for relief regarding that wall that's on that property line where the pool is. It's a wall that's where the driveway is going to.
That's correct.
It's new impervious surface, is it not?
That's not, no, ma'am, that's not what we're here about tonight.
I was contacted to say that this is what was in the letter that came to me.
I think the counsel for the applicant just explained that it was a different wall, apparently. Please, could you step up again to the plate and tell us the microphone so we can hear exactly?
So if you want to turn to applicant's exhibit A4, the zoning plan. Yeah, do you mind if I use the table? So you'll see on the plan, this is the Whistles property. The wall that's closest to the boundary line between the Whistles property and the applicants is not part of the application. The wall that's part of the application is along the eastern boundary line on the side of the garage.
Okay. So ma'am, I can't speak to why whoever communicated with you, but I think counsel just explained the wall in question, the wall that you're concerned about is not before us and is not subject to the request or the need for a request for zoning relief.
What is one of our major concerns is that the digging here to make room for the pool and the thing will be interrupting roots for ancient trees and then make them unstable. And that's the purpose of having Mr. Dunn here to present his expertise on why the plan as proposed would put...
I understand why you said before why you shared, but it's not relevant to our jurisdiction and what we are here to decide tonight regarding these plans and their whether or not they'll get the zoning relief or the relief from the zoning code. So you're sort of in the wrong church in the wrong pew. Perhaps you should be talking to the tree commission, and I don't know if you had to go through the tree commission or not, but that's not our providence. That's not where we operate. So Mr. Dunn, who is, I think, not Radnor resident, he cannot testify here tonight unless it's on something that has to deal with the application for zoning relief that's before us. And while I know you're concerned about the trees, the proper venue for you, I think, and for Mr. Dunn would be the tree commission.
You're the first board to alert us to this. Our neighbors didn't talk to us. Your letter was the first letter that something was happening in our backyard. So our two things are, we are not in favor of the increased impermeability, which is a 30% increase above code. And the other is that the damage for the trees and the slope would put it at risk. Now, if you want us to go to the tree commission, could you make it?
We don't have the jurisdiction to deal with the issues that you're raising, so it's up to you to decide if you want to go to the tree commission. We're not recommending anything here as far as that's concerned. We're just explaining to you that Mr. Dunn, if Mr. Weitzman said, if he's a resident of the township, he's free to come in here and make some observations. But other than that, he's not here.
As a resident of Radnor,
You present it.
as a resident of Radnor, I would be allowed to present his report?
No.
I don't
Because
think
it's expert
you're
testimony.
understanding. We don't have authority to address your concern. Radnor code does not cover where drip lines are in your neighbor's property. I know, I wrote the shade tree ordinance many years ago. And we tried to do some of those things, and we weren't able to. That a person has a right to do things on their own property. It's unfortunate. We agree. I certainly agree with your concern. We don't have a legal way of dealing with your concern.
Do you have jurisdiction over the allowance for increased impermeability? Is that something in your jurisdiction that you
And
could say?
we're addressing that.
So you could say yes or no tonight to that?
Well, I think you'd be hard-pressed to demonstrate that the increase in impervious surface has a negative consequence to those trees, especially given the grade and the slope that you pointed out. So I don't see the nexus personally. And again, I'm very sensitive to your issue. I wish we could do something, but we can't.
My neighbor's here, and he would like to know.
Sure.
I do. It's Anthony, Gargano, Gargano, 206 St. David's Court. Good evening. I was just identified, just as Paul was, on some of the issues here. But when you look at if someone could give us the map that was there, I just want to show where my property is in conjunction to the project. I would appreciate that. No, this is good. This is perfect. This is perfect. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah. So this is my lovely property over here. And originally, it's also a non-conforming lot because originally there was a carriage house. Fortunately, it burnt down about 11 years ago. And I had to rebuild on the original footprint of the carriage house. So my setback to the Whistles property here is like 4.5 feet. And my setback on the side to the Battersby is like 3 feet. So it's very close. The Batterbees and the Whistles have a lot of trees. Some of the canopies of the Batterbees trees are on top of, higher than my roof line. Okay, so I was just concerned about the permeability myself and whether or not it could affect the strength or the weakness of these trees in the future, because big stick falls down on your house, not only you damage, it could kill you. So that's where I'm at. I understand their need to renovate their home and make their home a better place to live, but I'm just trying to understand whether or not those trees would have any impact whatsoever. But my permeability, I forget what it is, but it wouldn't be in code today because the structure was built 130 odd years ago initially. And he has a similar situation because his was a carriage house, And as we all know, back in the day, they just stuck the carriage house, they tucked it in as close to the property line as possible. So that's where I'm at. And so I would just want you to consider whether or not the permeability has any impact on safety for me. If I need to go to the tree commission, that's fine. I have no problem with that, but it's the first I heard of it also. So I thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Could I address a couple of the comments that were made?
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, go ahead, Counselor.
Yeah, so I think if you look at the plan, the slope of my client's property slopes from the rear to the front by about 14 feet. So any water that doesn't permeate will likely flow away from their properties. And as far as the request for the additional impervious surface, the original ask was for, if you look at the plan, we have existing 4,046 square feet. We removed 1,019, but we were adding 1,416, so it's an increase of 425 square feet. That was the 4% increase, 4% of the total 10,316 square feet. My client, I'm sorry, sure. That was the increase, the 425 square feet is what constituted the 4% increase. My client testified he would forego the front porch, which would reduce the square footage by 276.7 square feet or so, and reduce the percentage by 2.77, but we would still need 148.3 square feet out of the 10,000. So out of the 10,036. Okay, I'll go back. So the entire lot that's subject to the impervious surface calculations per the code is 10,036 square feet. My client is willing to remove the front porch, which is 276.7 square feet, or 2.77% of the entire lot. We would still need 148.3 square feet out of a 10,036 square foot lot, which is only about a 1.47% impervious coverage.
I'll tell you, I agree with Rich's line of questioning. We're looking to give you the minimum relief, and as such, I would say remove the patio.
Yeah, my client's willing to remove the patio.
Yeah, you're still over, but you're over by less.
Less, correct. So, if that's what the board requires in order to get the variance, my clients will do that.
Kevin, have we ever changed the code to acknowledge pervious paving?
From a stormwater management perspective, you get some credit. From a zoning perspective, we look at the surface area and give them a partial credit, but it's only a 10 to 15% credit.
Right.
We'd need to see an engineering specification to see what the void ratio is at the surface.
Thank you. Something else to consider is putting pervious paving in that new area. It wouldn't count on the numbers, but it would show good faith in meeting the ordinance.
Okay. Was that something he's asking if you would consider using pervious paving for the driveway in the rear?
Yes, yes, sir.
So
John,
that-
what we've also seen is homeowners to maintain, they've removed the section of the middle of the driveway, so 2 tire tracks go back, but the center is now becoming pervious. We've seen that quite recently.
What's in the center? Oh, just grass?
Grass.
Want a moment to discuss it with your client?
So they would be agreeable to doing a design like that where the macadam is where the tires are, and in the middle where the body of the car would pass over would be grass.
Okay, I have to ask our counsel, but I think you probably have to submit another application or another drawing and
You can make it a
application?
condition to the application. You can add any conditions you'd want, so that way the applicant doesn't have to come back. If he's committing to doing that, the length of the driveway, we can put that in the order.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume it would be the navigable part up to where the turnaround would be, so that would still be full macadam, because the tires would cross all over the place.
But then we don't know what relief.
We don't
would
know
be.
that, we don't know the exact calculation now.
Might I suggest then, we continue tonight, let us submit a revised plan that incorporates that, and
I
then
think
give
that
you
would be
new
better.
calculations?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if you're willing to do that, that obviously alleviates the
Jack.
issue.
Is it okay?
All right, let's get that on the record.
Okay, so what we'll do is, if the board's willing, we'll request we continue this to the next hearing date, and in the meantime, we'll revise the plan to show the wheel path as macadam and with the grass in the middle, and see how much we can pick up that way, and then we'll also take a look at the pervious paving.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to pick a date now on the record, so we don't have to?
I don't,
Assuming there's enough room on the agenda for next month, you'll probably be put on next month's agenda.
Okay.
Assuming you can get it done within that time, I'm sure you can.
do we need a motion or just?
No,
just
the
on
it's the
record?
applicant's request for the
Okay,
continuance.
so I thought the record will show then that the applicant is going to refine the plans using impervious surface to lessen or actually hopefully eliminate one aspect of their application for relief. Is that right?
Yes, we will do that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now, I see that the individual, Mr. Kirk, you're had your hand up before? Okay.
We need to have these conversations on the mic.
Yeah, you have to be on the record, so step up to the microphone, please.
Hi, this is Paul Whistle, 214 St. David's Court. Could you delay the next meeting until we've had time to have the Shade Tree Commission look at Mr. Dunn's report and see if what the zoning board is now considering, the root structure that would be damaged, would have a bearing so they could give you advice? If I was not aware that this was 2 separate boards, and would like a little more time to have that board also look at this.
Counsel, would you agree to?
I would oppose to that. That's not before the board.
Well, I agree, and also the way this is set up is that, similar to the Planning Commission, it is advisory, and all the final decisions regarding zoning relief are here. We decide this, but if we can consider what the Planning Commission says and what Shade Tree says, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but they cannot negate our decision, because we occupy a different place in the this is in the zoning scheme, not just here, but as governed by the Municipalities Planning Code, which governs all of the zoning in Pennsylvania. So it's not as if the Shade Tree Commission is like the Supreme Court, where they can just somehow overrule what we decide here. We are bound to decide these cases using the zoning code here in Radnor. That's our job, and that's our sworn duty. I don't know when, but I don't know when we can reschedule this. It's a combination of what's on the agenda for the next, we might be late for the next meeting. I'm not sure, Kevin.
So the submission date for new applications has passed. It was this past Tuesday, and I believe with the first appeal being turned down for the time extension, we're at 6 appeals for next month already. Correct. It was either 5 or 6.
So I guess the alternative would be, and forgive me, I'm a chairperson in Westtown, so we come up with a lot of different ways to do stuff. We could possibly just leave the record open long enough for us to submit an amended plan and not have a continued hearing, and you could just make your decision based on the amended plan. I mean, I really don't know what else we would offer other than the plan anyway.
Would you offer expert testimony regarding and I think maybe you'd have to.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, if you like that, we'll do that. I was just trying to come up with a creative solution.
All right, well, let's list it. I guess we can't fit it in if we already have 6. I don't think that would.
I mean, I think it would probably take 5 minutes for us to do what we need to do.
Okay.
It's going fairly quickly, and I think Mr. Fitzgerald mentioned he didn't talk to the back door neighbors because our trees were in the way.
No, I think he said because the house was further
Okay,
away.
all right, thank you very much. I think we're done here. If you want to go to the Shade Tree Commission, that's your privilege. And we'll see if this will be on the next record. We'll leave this record, the next meeting of the zoning hearing board. But we'll leave the record open and see you again at the next meeting, I
Do
presume.
you happen to know the date? The third Thursday of each month?
April 17th.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before you adjourn, once you finish up, just have a question, if you're ready.
On the record?
Sure.
Okay.
Would the board want to consider a second meeting in April to have and split the agenda up or not? Instead of going through emails and trying to get a quorum that way, if we have, a public discussion of it, it's a lot easier so that's another option that we don't need to settle tonight, but we could schedule a second meeting, and I can provide you some dates if that's something that the board wants to consider.
I guess one meeting would they both be on a Thursday, or we don't know?
We would look at the availability of the meeting room. I don't know at this point. Don't come in anticipating that we need to schedule a second meeting a month ahead of time, but it's always an option. So if that's something that the board wants to consider, I can provide you with dates, and then we can formalize something later.
I'm okay with it, but I'll leave it to everybody else.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I guess we should, cross off dates and send them to Kevin when we're absolutely not available, whatever those dates may
I will
be.
send out, I'll get the availability of this meeting room. I'll send it out to the board, and then we can decide at that point. Sure.
Okay. All right, that sounds fine.
Thank you.
Okay, the hearing is ended for today. Thank you.